Welcome into the latest edition of the ESPN FC. I'm Dan Thomas, joined by Shaggy Hislop and, with a tie, Steve Nicol is with us today. We also welcome back from his vacation, Julien Laurent is there, and a good day to have you back, Jules, because we saw L'Equipe reporting that Neymar will never play for PSG again. However, the Brazilian was training today with his teammates, seemed to be in good spirits, sharing jokes, but is L'Equipe right here, Jules, really, when we never see him play in a PSG shirt again?
We will know in a month's time, Dan. That's the thing. I mean, what we know for sure is that nothing has changed since last week or the week before or 3 weeks ago or a month ago, is that he wants to leave the club. PSG are very happy to sell him and to get rid of him. And that Barcelona, where he wants to go back, would like him back. The problem is right now they have to work out if they can really afford him and how they can afford him, and do they have to sell first before putting a bid in to PSG for Neymar, and what kind of form that bid will take. Cash plus players, only cash, only players, you know, whatever form. But right now there's nothing, there's not even a discussion, not a dialogue between the two clubs. So right now Neymar is a PSG player, whether he likes it or not, whether Paris or Barcelona like it or not. He's there in China with the rest of the team, but for sure he doesn't want to play for them again anymore, but he might have to if there's no offers on the table.
You see that Barca have splashed the cash a lot already this summer. It's working out the accounts as to whether or not they can get Neymar through the door as well. From a player's perspective, what's it like when you're in that situation where a player's come out, says he wants to leave? Like, how would you treat him?
It depends on him. If his attitude is still professional, and he's still giving everything when you step on the field and in training, then you don't really have a problem with it. The problem that arises when somebody takes a foot off the gas, is moping around, is making it miserable for everybody else, then it becomes a huge problem. So this is all down to the professionalism of Neymar. Unfortunately, half the problem and half the reason he wants to go back to Barcelona is because he hasn't been professional. That's half the problem, so I'm not sure what we can expect.
How would you treat him, Shaq, given everything that he said?
No, differently. I say that, again, in full agreement with Steve. As long as his relationship with the other members of the dressing room remains the same, I don't think that dynamic changes at all. And as much as this is making headlines and is world news, players within a dressing room are always dealing with something. It's speculation about somebody coming in or somebody going out or somebody not happy about a contract or renegotiating, which oftentimes does not make back pages and is never discussed in forums such as these. But these are things that you deal with every single day, and it just becomes part and parcel of your job.
It's amazing. Liverpool recently have had two similar situations with Countinho and Suarez, who wanted to go, but were asked to stay another 12 months, and nothing changed. The performances were just as good, the relationship with the team was as good, the relationship with the club. So it can work. It just depends on the individual.
And Jules, you can see certainly in those pictures that his teammates seem okay with it. I imagine the PSG fans, he must be enemy number one at the moment, isn't he?
Yes, that's the other problem, in a way, in this very complicated situation, is because, especially with his recent comments, remember a few weeks ago when he said that his best memory ever in football was the famous remontada with Barcelona against PSG. That obviously didn't go down well at all with the Paris fans, because they felt humiliated, they felt that on purpose he answered that answer to show how much, not much respect he has for the club, and make a point that he wanted to go, and that was very much highlighting that point. So that also, whether he needs to do some work to sort of consolidate his relationship with the dressing room and with Thomas Tuchel or with Leonardo, the sporting director, but probably the most work he has to put in will be to rebuild that relationship with the fans as well, because right now it's pretty much rock bottom.
In an ideal world, Barcelona, of course, would put Countinho and some money to PSG to get Neymar. But as Mundo Deportivo sums it up, basically Countinho couldn't a jam at the moment because no one is interested in the Brazilian. This doesn't seem like it's going to move particularly quickly either, Jules.
No, and that's not really true about Countinho, to be fair, because Leonardo has said to Barcelona that Paris would be interested in Coutinho if Barca come up with a bid that includes Coutinho and money and another player, that sort of deal, they will be listening, they will be interested. But Barca haven't moved at all yet, so Paris can't do anything about Coutinho because Paris will never buy Coutinho just like this. If they get Coutinho, it's part of the Neymar deal. But if Barcelona don't offer anything, whether that's Coutinho or not Coutinho, or money or not money, PSG can't do anything about it. So PSG are waiting. They're waiting for Barcelona to move, but they're also saying to Barcelona, listen, there will be a point where, let's say mid-August, where we don't want to hear anything anymore because we would have to make our mind up, and then Neymar will stay if we can't sell him. So Barcelona, they are the one who have to move first, and they have to move pretty quickly now.
You saw Coutinho firsthand at his best, Stevie, at Liverpool. Are you surprised that people aren't using that as more as an example as to why they should be coming in for him?
No, because you're only as good as your last game, and he's been disappointing at Barcelona. There's no question. And clearly, Barcelona, I think, have decided they want the money back. So who's going to pay that amount of money? He was overpriced to start with, and he's had a torrid. So why would anybody go out their way to offer silly money for him? And certainly, why would they not try and get him on the cheap? That's what I don't understand.
The thing is, when Coutinho moved to the Camp Nou a couple of seasons ago, just after Neymar moved on himself, that threw the entire transfer market into total disarray. And everybody who moved that summer, the prices were inflated.
Yeah.
Now things are settling back down. Unless we're talking about Neymar, Messi or Ronaldo, things are finding some normalcy. Still a little bit inflated as to where they started off a couple of seasons ago, but there's some normalcy. I know, absolutely right. Coutinho will not command that kind of price tag again. Even a good Coutinho. And the trouble is, we've not seen a good Coutinho for a couple of seasons.
It is, of course, a week today that the transfer window closes in the Premier League. We'll be keeping up to date with that, and indeed all the transfer activity across Europe over on our transfer talk on the website. Too much what happened in the Audi Cup. We did that, of course, yesterday. But I do want to talk about what happened in the Real Madrid-Spurs semi-final. Gareth Bale, of course, not there. And apparently, surprise, surprise, he was playing golf.
Por Bale, si eso es así, si estaba jugando al golf a la misma hora que el Madrid estaba jugando contra el Tottenham, si se confirma, ¿a usted le molestaría?
Bueno, veremos cuándo vamos a volver, pero bueno, yo no voy a impedir a alguien hacer una cosa, ¿sabes? Cada uno tiene que hacer tiene sus responsabilidades, cada uno, y bueno, veremos lo que ha hecho en Madrid, su vida personal. Yo no voy a entrar en eso. Nosotros se ha quedado ahí para entrenar. Yo creo que el entrenamiento lo ha hecho y después veremos por el resto.
So Bale back at training today. Big deal?
Depends. If he hasn't travelled with the team because he's injured or he has an injury, then yes, it's an absolute and utter
But it was a
no-no.
psychological thing, wasn't it? I think that's why he said he didn't travel. That was the word that came out of the club, that he wasn't in the right mood.
Then if playing golf psychologically helps Gareth Bale, then it helps the club as well, so I don't have a problem with it.
No.
The only reason is, if he has any sort of injury at all, it's a complete no-no. Otherwise, whose business is it but Gareth Bale's?
Anything Gareth Bale does now is going to be news, or doesn't do, as the case may be. As long as he's in Madrid, in agreement with the club, and they know that, and the circumstances, as Stevie points out, isn't that he's injured or he can't do certain things, and what he does with his private time is up to him.
Jules, as someone who knows Zidane well, how do you think he is feeling internally about having to continuously answer questions about Gareth Bale?
I think there's a lot of frustration for Zinedine to keep being asked the same question about Bale, and also the Bale situation not moving. I think it was very clear when he came back, and especially at the start of the summer, when the transfer market opened, that he wanted Bale to, to be sold, or to leave Real Madrid, and that's still not the case. And I think the problem that Zidane has with him is that Zidane wants a very good dressing room where everybody gets on, everybody is passionate, there's that sort of mentality there. And Gareth Bale right now, I'm not sure if mentally he's really in the right place to be a member of that dressing room. I'm not sure right now he really wants to play a lot of football. I'm not sure he really wants to be competitive. And I think there's a lot of question mark over where his mind really is right now. And I think that's the problem. And the fact that Zidane and Bale don't talk, I think that the fact that Zidane and Jonathan Barnett, Bale's agent, don't talk either, is also an issue. The Chinese transfer market closed yesterday, or the day before yesterday, which is a problem. The one in England closes in a week's time, and it's really hard to see now where Bale is going to go. And if he doesn't go anywhere, then it will be a season where he's not going to play at all.
Jules, more on Bale in a moment. Stuart Robson on the show has a couple of times said he thinks Zidane will be gone in a couple of months. Maybe not because he'll get sacked, maybe he'll just walk away, just have enough of all of this. He wanted Paul Pogba, he wanted Bale gone, he wanted James gone. He's working with a squad of players that he didn't necessarily want to inherit. Could you foresee that actually happen? Could Zidane, we've seen him walk away before, obviously under much better circumstances, but do you think that could happen once again if we see a bad start to the season?
I don't think so personally, because if you also look at the signings, pretty much all of them are Zidane's. I mean, Ferland Mendy is Zidane's. He wanted Hazard, he got Hazard. He wanted Jovic, he got Jovic. You know, this is very much his squad, and I think James Rodriguez is going to leave. And whether Bale stays or not, Zidane doesn't care. I mean, he doesn't care. If he stays, then he's never going to play. So that's not going to be a problem for Zidane. Pogba is the last one of the list that he gave to Florentino Perez that he really wanted. So Zidane still believes that could happen. And we saw, for example, Zlatan Ibrahimovic, who is also a client of Mino Raiola, like Paul Pogba, coming out and saying, you know, if Pogba doesn't want to be somewhere, you should let him go, you should... And clearly, you could... I think in terms of media work, Mino Raiola and all these people are going to be very, very strong in the next few weeks now to try to make the deal of Pogba to Real Madrid happen. Whether that will happen or not, it's a different matter. But I think Zidane still believes that Pogba can be a Real Madrid player at the end of the summer, and then he will have exactly the squad that he wanted when he joined, when he came back in March.
Meanwhile, former Real Madrid manager John Toshak has something to say about Bale. Before we show the quote, let's see the brilliant headlines. Bale's insult to Spain, but it's all about Tosh goes Baleistic. Ex-Wales boss slams at Gareth insult. This is what he had to say. Come out, Gareth, do an interview, speak yourself. You've been there 6 or 7 years now. You don't speak the language. That's an insult to the people you are working for. Music to Real Madrid fans' ears. Of course, they've been pleading for Bale to speak out for years. What do you make of this, Stevie?
To be honest, if I'm Gareth Bale, I'm not saying a word either. You know, the truth is, Gareth Bale hasn't moved anywhere because of the money. Now, any player who comes out and says, I'm not going anywhere because of the money, is going to get lambasted by everybody.
Yep.
So Gareth Bale, actually, whether you like it or not, is doing the right thing by keeping that shut.
But the fact that he doesn't speak Spanish doesn't really make a difference. If he was successful and banging in 30 goals a season, no one would care, no one would give a hoot, would they? They don't speak Spanish?
No, nobody would. Nobody would. But at the same time, if you don't know the language, I agree with Toshak and him saying that, you then feel, as a fan, you feel a little bit slighted. Like he
I don't know, but like Kun Aguero, for example, how many times have you heard him speak English? How many times has he done poker?
But to the point, he's banging in goals. And that's my point. If you're banging in goals, you can get away with a lot more. When you're not, and you're no longer in that honeymoon period, or you're not contributing as you are, then fans pick up on anything to have fault with, or to find fault with. And not being able to speak the language, again, for me, for a player who quite clearly, you know, doesn't seem all that bothered about contributing to the club, again, it's just another thing that rubs me the wrong way.
Finally, Jules, because I think you're going on holiday again soon, maybe even tomorrow. Let's get this done, shall we?
What?
I know, what's going on.
Really?
When it comes to the close of the Premier League transfer window next week, Gareth Bale, any chance he can move to anywhere in England?
No.
Are you sure?
That is definitive. That would have taken Gab 5 minutes to explain.
Exactly.
Extra time available on YouTube, as always. Yesterday's Extra Time got a little feisty. Be sure to check it out. Steve Nicol, forgetting what you said 2 minutes beforehand. Was made official today, £72 million as Arsenal smash their previous record when it comes to transfers. Nicolas Pepe making the move from Ligue 1 to the Premier League. A lot of people excited about this move. A lot of people have never seen him play. Julien Laurent, you've actually witnessed him play and can tell us a little bit about him and whether or not he's worth that money.
It's a lot of money, that's for sure, and I've seen him play a lot last season and the season before and the one before as well. The talent is amazing, the potential is great, there's no doubt about that. He's 24, there's still room for improvement, but he's never played abroad. He's not even played in a European competition before, no Champions League, no Europa League. So that is the unknown. However, on the talent and what we've seen in Liga in the last 2 seasons especially, he's a wonderful talent. He's left-footed but plays as an inverted winger on the right-hand side. He's strong, he's physical, he's very quick, he's got loads of skills, his touch is great, he scores goals, he assists goals as well. He really has everything, and Arsenal, the way they play with the manager they have, will be perfect for him to continue his progression and keep improving and keep developing. However, there will be a time where he will have to adapt and learn about a new culture, a new country and everything. But on paper, it looks like a great coup for Arsenal because loads of bigger European clubs were after him as well.
Who would you compare him to, Jules?
It's hard because it's a very unique profile. Because usually wingers, especially with that kind of skills and pace, are usually shorter than him. But he's 1.83 m. He's a big boy. He's quite strong from the upper body, and he has that pace and he has that amazing left foot, really, with the skills and the touches and all of that. He's also very creative and has improved massively in the last 2 seasons in his decision making of, you know, when to pass, when to shoot, when to cross, etc. And that's made him the best player in Ligue 1 last season, who was not called Kylian Mbappe. And you know that says a lot about how well he did really back home last year. It's a different league, it's a different team, and for sure he will take nothing for granted. But I think he has all the ability to do very well for Arsenal and in the Premier League as well.
Putting my Steve Nicol hat on, will he track back? Will he defend? Will he help out?
He will have to anyway. This is not, you know, he did it at Lille a bit, and they were playing in a 4-2-3-1 formation that suited him very well, and he had a very good right back behind him, Celik, and them two got on so well, and he had very, very hard-working defensive midfielders as well, so that worked very well. This is different though. I think he will have to understand very quickly that this is a step higher, that, you know, he will have to work harder, do more effort, be even better on the ball, be more clinical, be more decisive, be more efficient. All of that he will have to be, because now he's worth 80 million euros and he plays in a much better club and a much bigger league than what he did before. So in answer to your question, he will have to anyway, and he's a very clever kid, and he's a shy kid, but he's a very hard-working, clever kid, and I think he will learn very quickly what he has to do now.
So, that deal done. There's a lot of speculation about the future of Leroy Sané moving to Bayern Munich. That speculation, of course, was fuelled by the Bayern's coach, Niko Kovac, coming out and saying, Leroy is a great footballer. I am very confident. I assume we can get it done. Now, this was Sunday. This was Tuesday. Karl-Heinz Rummenigge not happy with his coach, saying, I did not like that statement. I make no secret of it. Neither optimistic nor pessimistic statements will help the cause. Kovac then replying to that, saying, I might have been a bit too outspoken. I not only want to apologise to Pep, but to Manchester City. I always tell the truth. What I said stands. It's verified. And then today, we had Kicker saying that Bayern are very close to signing Sané for 100 million euros, although Bayern released a statement regarding that report, saying news reports made today saying that Leroy Sané has decided to join FC Bayern do not correspond to the facts. Oh, Jules, Bayern are making a right old mess of this, aren't they?
Yeah, and I think he says a lot of the relationship between Rummenigge and Kovac as well, and we know that Uli Hoeneß and Karl-Heinz Rummenigge don't really see eye to eye in terms of Niko Kovac. This one has been in the pipeline for so long now, for weeks. He's been linked with them, there have been talks. There have been offers from Bayern to City rejecting an 80 million euros offer not so long ago because they wanted closer to the 100 million. I think it will happen, and Bayern will sign him, and it will be a great signing for him, and I think it would be very good for him to go back home as well to Germany. But there's no reason for Rummenigge and Kovac to argue like that publicly in the media, because that doesn't reflect well on either of them and on the club.
No, we had public spat over this.
Yeah, well, it's Rummenigge's flexing his muscles. That's all it is. I mean, there's not a person who's interested in the game of football in the world doesn't know that Bayern are trying to sign Leroy Sané.
Yeah.
There's not a person. So this is all about somebody trying to get one up on the other. And Rummenigge's trying to do that with Kovac.
I think it's more a case that Bayern Munich want to keep this deal, or the aspects of it, as quiet and do it as professionally as possible.
Everybody knows.
No,
it's not.
But it's not coming from them. And once Kovac opens his mouth and this now becomes an official statement from Bayern Munich, given his role with the club, it then, given the delicacy of the deal, it then becomes a little bit problematic.
Speaking of problematic, Frank Leboeuf will be with us on the next edition of the show. We'll be catching up with Frank, his views on Chelsea as they start the new season, how he thinks Frank Lampard as well will get on as their new coach. Jules, FIFA announced today that the Women's World Cup will be expanded to 32 teams next time round. A lot of debate about whether or not this is a good or a bad thing. Where do you stand on it?
Yeah, it's a very interesting one. I mean, the World Cup that just finished in France was such a success that you can see why FIFA are trying to, to surf on that wave and expand it and try to develop women's football a bit more. You could also argue that you already have seen in the last World Cup that went to 24 teams that there was a lot of differences between some of the teams, not just the USA Thailand 13-0 one in the group stages, but others as well, and putting that to 32 might be a bit too early in the development of women's football and how young some national teams are still in the game. So personally, I would have waited a little bit more and maybe gone to the next World Cup after the next one then. But FIFA clearly jumping a bit quicker and thinking that there's actually enough talented teams to make it 32 teams World Cup and still keeping it very interested, because that's at the end of the day what matters the most.
Cynically, you could also add more games, more money as well to that.
Yeah, I have to say though, the women's game is young in relative terms as compared to the men's. And as much as there's a huge disparity between the bigger nations and the smaller ones, I think this is the only way to grow the women's games. So they're women's game globally. So there will be more lopsided games, but I'm in favour and I think it's needed.
We will end the show with something completely different. It's not even football. Well, it is football, but of the American kind. This is brilliant. If you haven't seen this, this is the kids looking to run out.
Look at the coach! Look at the coach!
That way!
Look at the coach!
It's just chaos right from the start. One goes down, and they all go around. Isn't that brilliant?
That is good.
We had to show you that. I know, get the old Shaka laugh going. It's fantastic.
That's a good way to end it.
Yeah, that's it. We do that every day.
Yeah.
Something that isn't soccer.
I laugh like that every day.
Thank you very much, guys. Thanks to Jules as well. Back tomorrow for more. Until then, goodbye.